What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another Django web development tutorial with Python. In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about taking our website and pushing it live to production. At this point, we have a beautiful website with just really high quality content that would just make the world a better place if it could just access our content. So that's what we're going to be talking about here. And so there are a lot of ways to push a website into production and let the public access it. You've got things from shared hosting all the way up to just having your own actual, server or something running out of your house. So what we're going to be using here is DigitalOcean. There are many other options. You don't have to use DigitalOcean. We are going to utilize DigitalOcean mainly because DigitalOcean offers a one-click install app for Django specifically. There are a lot of little things that we're still going to have to do after that, but it will significantly make the startup process a lot easier to use DigitalOcean. Plus, it's fairly cheap. It's $5 a month for the smallest server, but also you can pay hourly, and that's 0.7 pennies an hour. So really less than a penny to run through this tutorial, and then you could close it if you wanted or whatever. So we're going to be using DigitalOcean. If you do not have a DigitalOcean account, there is a link in the description. That's a referral link. If you want to support me and the channel and all that, and you were already going to use DigitalOcean anyways, you can use that link. If you want to stick it to me, then I suppose you could not use the link. So anyway, coming over here, but why are you watching? Anyway, come over here, and once you sign into DigitalOcean, there will be like a big green button in the top right. Click that button, and you'll be brought here. This is just create droplets. Now, normally, a droplet is your virtual machine. It's your VPS, okay? So here are operating systems, and you can choose versions and stuff like that. But they also have these one-click apps that I was talking about. We're interested in Django on 14.04. So take that. That's 14.04 is your operating system is going to be Ubuntu version 14.04. Now, after you're all said and done here, you can upgrade to 15.04 or 15.10, which is available now. You can do what you want, but starting at this point, it's just going to be really easy. You're not going to have to configure a bunch of junk. So choose that. Then we'll come down here, and we're going to go with $5 a month, or $0.007 an hour. And then you've got a region. I'm just going to go with New York. It really doesn't matter, but you kind of want to think about like who your main users are going to be, and you want your server located close to them if that's what you're doing. Also, if this is going to be your actual, if you plan to continue using this, I highly suggest you check backups. It adds 20% to your monthly cost, but it's worth it. It's worth it to have it there. Things do go wrong. Things get corrupted. You accidentally move something. One time I accidentally clicked and dragged my root directory into some other directory. I don't even know what happened, and I could not fix that situation, so I just reverted to a backup. It was super easy. I'm not going to do it. This is just a tutorials website. Don't do it if you're just planning to nuke this server later on, but it's definitely useful. I've never regretted having them. I've only regretted not having them. Finally, the host name. This is just the name of your server. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Django Tuts. Good enough. So go ahead and hit create there, and I'm going to move this aside while that's creating, and we can look at our beautiful website. And I'm actually going to move this aside. While that's creating, what you're going to want to do is, first of all, it depends on if you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux. Mac and Linux are basically the same as far as SSH is concerned. So if you're on Mac or Linux, you just type in your terminal SSH and then the username, which for now would just be root, and then and then the IP address. So let's say it's like 192.55.22.34.22. Okay, that's all you need to do if you're on Mac or Linux. If you're on Windows, that doesn't work. You're going to need something like PuTTY. So if you're on Windows, get PuTTY. Okay, and that basically goes to here. You put in your IP address, and you're good to go. So then, so that's PuTTY. For transferring files, so you can click and drag files, you're going to want to be able to do either SFTP or SCP. You can also do SCP via the command line. I just really don't like it. It's actually easier for me to use the GUI form. So I prefer to use WinSCP. So if you're on Windows, you can use WinSCP. FileZilla also works on Windows and Mac and stuff like that. So get those two things and pause the video while you're getting those. By now your website should be, or your server should be ready to go. So I'm going to move this stuff aside, and Let's see if I got my email yet. So when you sign up for a DigitalOcean Droplet server, you should be emailed, and the email will contain the Droplet name, the IP address, the username, which will always be root, and then a password. The first time you log in, it's going to make you change that password. So let's go ahead and log in. So I'm just going to copy and paste. Just copy that IP, paste it in here, hit enter. Wait for it. Might take it. Maybe the server, maybe I was too quick. The server might not totally be ready. If the server was like literally just set up, you kind of want to wait like a minute or two. Let me go see if it's up on DigitalOcean. I'm going to pause this. Okay, we're back. So that probably took, let's see, the droplet was created. I'll just give you guys an exact time that took. 3 minutes from being created to when I could actually connect. Okay, so here we have, this is just a message. Basically, anytime you connect to a server for the first time, it's going to send you the RSA, at least for now, RSA2 fingerprint. So if it's the first time you've ever connected to the server, that's totally normal. That's fine. You'll hit yes and continue on. If it is not the first time, if you've been developing on the server and then you go to connect to it and suddenly the fingerprint changed, something hinky has happened and you need to figure out what is going on. It's probably not good. So keep that in mind. If it's a new server, don't worry about it. Hit yes. So then you're going to log in. Here in our case, go back to your email. Your username should be root. And then they emailed you the password. If you're using PuTTY, you should be able to just copy, and then you come over to the terminal and just right click. That pastes it in. You just can't see it, but right click, that's good. I'm not sure if that works on Mac or Linux. Someone can comment below. It should work on Linux. I'm not sure about Mac. Anyway, hit enter. You should be fine there. And then you're logged in. Okay. Then again, it's going to force you to change that password because that was just a temporary password. So again, I'm just right-clicking, hitting enter, and now I make a new password. So my password is cookies with an exclamation mark. Pro tip, don't tell anybody else your server password. Okay, so once you're connected, your website should be live. So if you go to your IP address, you can do this and just copy this and go paste that into a browser. You should see this, and that should be a pretty familiar message from you from like one of the first tutorials when we set up Django. So you should have that, and you should be happy to be seeing that message. Now, basically that's here because we just have a really simple app right now. So what we're ready to do is to begin moving our files over. If you've been following along, you should have all the files. If you haven't been following along for like whatever reason, you can go to pythonprogramming.net, come down to web development, or come over, and then Django. And then right now I don't have all of them up yet, so we're releasing them, but you can come down to each tutorial, and at the bottom there's you can download the code. So you could go to part 10 and just download the zip file if you don't have the code or something else is wrong. So let me move that aside, and let's see. So once you have that code, you can extract it, and you should basically have all of this information. Okay, so we've got blog, my site, personal, the database, and manage.py. So with that data ready to go, what you're going to want to do is pop over to SCP, go ahead, new site, and the host name is your IP address. If you're on FileZilla, same thing. It'll ask for a host name. It'll be the IP address. For some reason that has changed my protocol. I don't want that. I want to be on SCP or SFTP. On FileZilla, I don't actually think you choose that. I'm pretty sure the only thing you pick is the port number. Make sure it's 22. That's a secured port. Now, username, for now is root, and then my password is cookies exclamation mark. Wait for it. Again, this is the first time we've connected with WinSCP, so yes. Wait for it again. And you are in. So now what we can do is, well, I'll leave that alone. Now you're in the root directory. So with this one-click install, Django is installed back here. So if you're on WinSCP, you can just kind of click back to this little arrow or the forward slash, but you can also always go back. So like for example, going back to where, oops, that's the wrong one. Go back to where we were, like here. You can always just click these dot dots to go back to. So now we're in the root directory or the main directory, and Django is hosted at, should be, I think it's in home. So home, yeah, home, Django, and then Django project. And then we'll come into, actually, stay here. So once you're on this page, coming over here, this is our like website data. We're going to take blog, my site, personal. Actually, we're going to leave my site out of this. And we're actually just going to take blog, personal, and the database. So take those, and either you're on FileZilla or WinSCP, and just click and drag them into the home Django project. So click and drag those in. And while we're waiting on that should be pretty quick. It's just the initial stuff will take a sec. But while we're waiting on that, what's going to happen is basically, what have we done? Well, we've added new apps, right? So what's the first thing we always have to do? Well, we've got to install the apps. So clicking on Django project here, just double click into that. That's basically, our site was, my site / my site. This one-click install makes it Django project. So everywhere we have my site, we're just replacing with Django project. We could kind of flip that. We could change the core directories that lead to, or the core files that lead to Django project. Either one's going to be a lot of effort. So this one's, I think, the easier way to go. Plus, this is what you're more likely to do. You're more like if you're going to use someone else's application, you need to be familiar with moving those over and what's required to implement. So once you're in here, we're going to go into the settings.py, and that's this file here. Another pro tip, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Don't share the secret key with anybody. It's just in this tutorial simply because it has to be. So making this big. The first thing we have to do is we have to install the app. So we come down here, and if you remember, we had two apps. We have blog and then personal. Okay, save that. The other thing we have to do is if you come down here, we'll see that they're using a Postgres database. Instead, I'm going to replace that. We're using SQLite. So if you go into these are the files, this is the tutorial files leading up to this, go into my site, and then the settings.py, let's go ahead and open that one up. And I'm going to move this aside. We're looking for the database, this. Okay, this is your databases. So we'll take that, copy, paste, and we'll save that. We are going to come back in and we have to add one more thing, but we'll come back to that. So go ahead and exit that, and I'm going to exit this before I get confused. And then we're going to open up urls.py, and then again, going back over to our original website, just go ahead and open up that one. We'll just copy and paste them over. So we need the URLs that point to the personal.urls and the URLs that point to the blog.urls. So let's move this over. Coming over here, paste, and then fix this. Okay, save that, close out of that. And let me think here. The next thing that we want to do, this one-click install is, first of all, it's on Django 14.04, for example. So you could do upgrade and release and upgrade your actual operating system. That's not as important. But one thing to note is most likely, like type Python and then import Django. And then what you're going to want to do is do Django.version. Sorry, I'm just making sure y'all can see that. Django version. And you'll see we're using 1.6.1. We don't want to be using that. I mean, it should be fine, but we're going to go ahead and update that. So quit, and what we're going to do is pip install -- upgrade Django. Go ahead and hit enter there, and now we've got 1.9.1. We did see that we got this syntax error, but it looks like it's still installed, but we'll check just to make sure. So Python, import Django, and then Django.allcaps version. Okay, so now we're pushing 1.9.1. Great. So we'll go ahead and quit, not all caps, just regular. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is, we actually should be good at this point. Let's go to our website. Let's try a refresh. Nope, nothing yet. I'm trying to think if there's something I've missed or if we need to just restart. Let's see. So go ahead and do service gunicorn, or actually, let's see. Is this the right IP? Yeah. Gunicorn restart. Let me try to refresh now if that did it. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of like restarting Apache, right? So anytime you make a change, you might need to do that. But I'm pretty sure you only need to do that if you've updated your like your settings and like your maybe the URLs.py and stuff like that. You have to play around with that, but it seems like Django automatically updates a lot more than Flask from what I found. Anyway, once you've done that, you can refresh and boom, you've got a lot of things, but you're still missing a few things, right? Our images are gone, and it looks like we're not pushing any Bootstrap, right? There's no CSS here. So moving this over, we can go over here and we're like, hey, what's going on? Basically, if you recall, our CSS is supposed to be in personal and then static and then personal, and then we've got the CSS, fonts, image, JavaScript, all that. So normally it should work just already, but what we're going to have to do is two major things. First, what you're going to want to do is you want to nano /etc and then nginx and then sites available and then Django. And what that's going to do is it's going to open up your configuration for your Django application. And coming down, what you're looking for is the Django project static files directory. In our case, it's aliased to /home, Django project, static. Take that and just Control-C to copy it. You're just trying to copy it. And then go ahead, we'll leave that up for now. Coming over to SCP, go into the main Django project, settings.py, edit, and come down to, here we go, static URL equals. Above that, we're going to add one thing, and it's going to be static _ root equals, quote, quote, paste, home, Django project, static. Make sure that's in there. We're going to save that, and I'm going to exit out of that. We're going to come over here, Control X. Do not, if you edited something, don't save it. And then we're in the root directory. So you can do pwd to figure out where you are. We're in /root. We're the root user directory. Where we want to be is home Django project, right? Or actually home Django project. So change directory /home Django project. If you're not familiar, you can start to type something, hit tab, and it finishes it. Hit enter. And now what we want to do is we want to run Python manage.py collect static. Hit enter. And then basically it's just telling you you're going to overwrite some existing files. Are you sure you want to do that? Yes. Says 73 static files have been copied. We'll come over here, refresh, and now we have HTML, CSS. Well, we already had HTML, but we've got CSS. We've got our styling is here. We can bebop around. We can open up stuff, so our database is connected, so that's good. The final thing I want to show you guys is right now, by the time you see this, this will not be hosted. But if you just happen to know I had it hosted, you could go to this IP address and visit my website. The problem is, that's kind of lame. Like, nobody actually has an IP address as a website. They've got a domain name. So I'm going to show you guys how you can connect a domain name to DigitalOcean. So the first thing you're going to want to do is wherever, you might have GoDaddy or, I don't know, all the other, there's a billion domain registrars, but go to whichever you use. I'll show you domains.google.com. So I've got a domain on there. Wow, it's taking forever to load. And then we could click on one of the domains, And what you're looking for is to configure the domain name server. So just looking at Google Domains, you can come here and like this is your configured DNS. So that's your name servers. You can click on that, and I'm just making sure nothing that shouldn't come up should come up. Okay, so here's your name servers. Mine are already in, but if you're on like GoDaddy or whatever, any of the other hosts, they're all the same. You configure name servers, and eventually you would say, I want to use a custom name server. In my case, since we're hosting on DigitalOcean, these are the 3 name servers. So if you're on DigitalOcean, use the exact same thing. It's ns1.digitalocean.com, ns2 and ns3, same things. Put those in, and then that can take, I don't know how long the cycle is on Google, but usually that can take up to 15 minutes to take effect. If you're changing name servers, like if you had name servers before and you're changing them, that can take like hours, and you may want to flush DNS on your whatever machine you're using. But that's not what we're talking about. We're just going to keep it simple for now. If it's the first time, it should take up to 15 minutes and you should be good. Once you've done that, basically what you're doing is you're pointing this is, cyber.io. We're pointing that domain to the name servers for DigitalOcean. That's one step. The next step is on DigitalOcean saying what we want to do with that domain name. So coming over to DigitalOcean, you can click on the networking tab at the very, very top, and then click on domains. And the one I'm interested in is, well, actually, probably what you would do is you would add a domain. So let me pull this over. So you would go to, oops, let me pull this. You'd come to DigitalOcean here, and you'd go networking, come down to domains, and you'd add a domain. So in my case, I already have one added, but you would basically just say here, you would say for my domain, it's cyber.io. It already exists. And then you can click here, and you can either put in the IP address, or when you click that, you'll get a bunch of options of droplets that already exist. When you're done, you'll hit create record, and then you should have something that looks like, let me pull up the one that is for cyber. Basically, you'll create a record, and you'll see this. Okay? And let me make sure that's actually the correct IP for what we're doing. Where's the website? It's 162.243.0. Oh, no, it's not the right IP. So let me change the IP. Let me copy this, paste. This might not happen immediately. But anyway, so for me, I'm actually changing the IP address for this record because I already had one before. So you would put in here, you shouldn't have to do this though. Like this should already be done for you if you followed the other step. But anyway, I'll go ahead and save that. And it says it was updated. Let me see here. Let's go to cyber.io. Okay, cool. So it actually already worked. So I've tied in that. So really, the thing that takes the most time is actually taking a domain from the domain registrar and pointing it to a specific host name servers. That takes a lot of time, especially if you're changing the name server. So if you changed hosts or something like that. But once you've done that part, once that process is done, and if it's the first time, it's usually pretty quick. But anyway, once that's done, you go to whoever your host is. In our case, it was DigitalOcean, and then you set up the rest there. So anyway, that's how you can tie like a domain name to the actual website, and then everything else should be done. So anyways, that's it for pushing your website to production. If you have questions, comments, concerns, whatever, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support and subscriptions. And until next time.